One fine day with a question on their mind, CatDog left old Nearbook behind. Tired of wondering, tired of feeling bad, set off searching for their mom and their dad. CatDog, 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 CatDog. Out on the road went little CatDog. They're gonna find weirdos, gonna find nuts, pussycats, meatballs, hillbilly mutts. They look real high and they look real low. Look in places where the sun don't go. CatDog, 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 CatDog. What are you gonna find, you little CatDog? CatDog, CatDog, CatDog. What are you gonna find, you little CatDog?
Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week, Ho Diggety, I am discussing CatDog and the Great Parent Mystery. That made me laugh just saying that. I don't know why. You know, what's funny is that this was one of my favorite Nicktoons as a kid. It premiered back in 1998. I was in first grade, and I have a distinct memory of watching the pilot because that was at the time when, unfortunately, I broke my arm. And it was the hand I write with, my right hand, so I couldn't really use it. And I was in so much pain. I actually wrote a blog about it a few years ago. But I remember watching the pilot, and at the time it was the only episode available of the show, so they would just rerun it. And I just remember, before the show actually had its proper premiere later that year in October then. But the show premiered April 4th, 1998, so it was right around that time when I had broken my arm, maybe a week or two later, and I was just watching a rerun of CatDog, that same episode, and I was in my cast, oh my goodness. Actually, no, I wasn't in my cast yet. It was that night when I had broken it, because first I was watching a little bit of The Little Mermaid, and I was in such pain, I couldn't eat my ice cream, so I'm cringing thinking of that. But my point with saying all of that is that just I associate this show with that moment in my life as a little kid, having broken my arm watching CatDog, and it did cheer me up a little bit at the time. And I do remember then, of course, later back in November of 1998 when the Rugrats movie was in theaters. Before the movie, they played the CatDog short Fetch, which then they put into the show too. As I think it's a 7-minute short, give or take. And CatDog on the big screen looks good to me. I remember they just looked good. CatDog as a theatrical movie, I think would have been cool to see. So it was just cool, fluid animation. And the show itself has a lot of classic slapstick humor too, and does have a fair share of lowbrow humor, I'll admit. But I'm telling you, at the time, as a 7-year-old, this was my favorite Nicktoon after my two top favorites, always still from then till now, always my favorites, Rugrats and Hey Arnold, in that order. And then this one was probably my third at the time. I just really loved this show, and it was never really a show that I felt the need to revisit, having said all of this. But I do remember watching it here and there in my young adulthood, back when they not rebooted, but when they brought back all the classic 90s Nicktoons and Nickelodeon live action shows, all that, and Kenan and Kel on, it used to be called that networking block on Teen Nick. It used to be called The 90s Are All That. They had Kenan, The 90s Are All That. They had that whole, song with all the shows mixed in. Oh man, all these memories. But so I remember though one night coming home, when I was in college, coming home after a night out. I was of age at the time, but after a night of drinking and just drunkenly putting on the TV and turning on some CatDog and just having a ball, enjoying myself watching CatDog that I hadn't seen in, years and years before that. So, oh my goodness, but oh man. It's so funny because one distinct thing that I remember made me die laughing rewatching it, at this point a decade ago now, but and from that point not having seen the show in years and years, so rewatching it at the time then in my 20s, that the episode when they get fleas and then they are wearing that flea collar and people are teasing them about it or something. And that Mr. Sunshine guy, who isn't in this CatDog and the Great Parent Mystery TV movie, but he's hilarious. But he just makes a comment like, oh, you're wearing a flea collar. He's like, oh, it's funny looking. And he just walks away. And then Cat so dryly, sarcastically says, as if I asked your opinion. And that slayed me. I didn't remember it. I just died laughing. I was like, oh my God, what a delivery. What a line. Hilarious. And Cat and Dog are voiced by Jim Cummings and Tom Kenny, respectively. And obviously, between the two of them, they've voiced thousands and thousands of cartoon characters. Most notably, Jim Cummings is known as the voice of Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, etc. So many Disney characters. Darkwing Duck is another big one. And of course, Tom Kenny voices some yellow sponge, whatever character that is. I can't recall. Goodness. And of course, millions of other, thousands, literally thousands of other characters. So, obviously he's most known as SpongeBob, but, there's hints of SpongeBob in Dog's voice, I would say, too. But, so, I don't know, CatDog, it was funny, it was just funny to rewatch it then in college, and I just got a kick out of it, and I loved it as a kid. But also, as a kid, though, the thing I wasn't crazy about, and this was another show that I distinctly remember always watching with my siblings, that we preferred Cat because we are cat people. We always had a cat growing up. And so we were just preferred Cat. And so what I didn't like was that Cat was always the morally wrong one. And Dog was technically always right, so to speak, in any situation. He was always on the right side of morality, which is good for him. It's just unfortunate that Cat was always having to kind of learn his lesson, so to speak. And also, obviously, Cat and Dog have that classic odd couple dynamic. Similarly, of course, then with the Angry Beavers, the same thing, with Norb and Dag, that same kind of dynamic. Although that show's hilarious too, obviously, and that to this day is one of my favorite Nicktoons. But just at the time, this was one of my favorite Nicktoons. I don't know. And so watching it, though, I remember at certain times being oh, come on, Cat, I'm feeling bad for Cat, but then also it's well, he deserved it. If you're gonna treat people wrong and whatever it may be, then that's what you get. And so even in this movie too, how Cat is the pessimist, Dog is the optimist, of course, anything with opposing sides. But the thing too with CatDog, the show, is that what's interesting is obviously with them being conjoined, brothers, literally conjoined, literally, attached, that they can't go anywhere, they're stuck together, that whenever it would end on a down note, so to speak, any episode, that it's funny because Dog would still be having a ball, but Cat would just be terrific, whatever it may be. So that just goes to show having the right perspective. If you're in a bad situation, if you have a good perspective on it, you can make the best out of a bad situation, with Dog's positive attitude, make lemonade out of lemons, that classic phrase, And CatDog actually started originally as a children's book. It was going to be a children's book called CatDog Man. So it was a superhero with two heads of a cat and a dog. And then Peter Hannan then developed it into the series of CatDog. And also, just gotta say, the CatDog theme song is a banger. And it's so good, that theme song. I just remember, as a kid, too, always being excited. Another show that would get you pumped to watch, another theme song that would get you excited to watch the show. With CatDog, their bodies stretching and wiggling like a rubber band, along the screen. Oh, man. I was gonna have so much fun just reminiscing about this show, but because, I love my Nicktoons. And it's crazy, this series premiered 25 years ago now. Wow, time flies. And so what's cool is that Peter Hannan had said in interviews that when the series was picked up, he had gotten a call and then the executives were singing his song to him, singing the CatDog theme song. So that's how he found out the show was getting picked up. That's pretty darn cool if you ask me. And also originally the song was much kind of drearier, just kind of more of a slower songs, and he made it more upbeat, speeding up the tempo for the theme song itself, because it was originally one fine day with a woof and a purr, a baby was born, and it caused a little slower, I guess, so kind of a downer a little bit, because really the lyrics are kind of alone in the world with a little cat dog, it's sad when you think about it. I don't know, but it's just, I don't know, it's just such a great theme song though, and it's altered for this TV movie. And I didn't realize this TV movie came out in 2000. I always thought 2001 for some reason, but it came out even earlier than I thought. Also, this show really, like, it ended in 2005, but they were basically already at season 4 in 2000. So I really went through it quickly, like 98, 99, 2000, the 3 seasons. Well, technically 4 seasons, I guess, but the 4th season is much shorter. And there is an episode or two after this TV movie where the parents reappear too. And they're voiced by Jane Krakowski and Billy Bob Thornton. That's just so darn random if you ask me, my goodness. But wow, so the whole thing though was like them trying to find their parents. And of course it gives me Parents' Day vibes a little bit from Hey Arnold, and that's that same year then that episode of Hey Arnold premiered. I still don't understand why Nickelodeon purposely held that episode back, because I remember the promos for that episode, and then it was like the older art style, so it was a weird thing. It was like, wait, this is the older version of Hey Arnold, but it's a new episode. I just remember that, being confused by that as a kid. I was 9 when that premiered. So, I don't know what random memories are flooding back having watched this now. Just, rewatching some classic Nicktoons, but my goodness. But, this is it's a fun ride, this TV movie. They really go through a lot, CatDog, in this. And it's interesting their origin, that they just were spat out by this up and chuck, whatever it's called, that like tornado thing. And it's interesting to learn that Winslow technically raised CatDog a little bit, because throughout the show he's just like another antagonist for them. Even though he lives with them, he's always just there to stir up drama, like stir up trouble, and just kind of pester CatDog, in particular Cat. Similar with the Greaser dogs, how they're always there to just pound CatDog, specifically Cat, just because they're different. It's not a good, I understand you need antagonists in a cartoon for kids, but goodness, that's their whole motivation. We're just gonna beat up CatDog just because, my goodness. Not nice, not cool. The violence, a lot of cartoon violence in this too. And it'd always be a cloud of just you never the fists and everything, just a cloud of them getting beaten up. But my goodness, with what are their names? Cliff, Lube, and Shriek. And then Shriek had a crush on Dog. I remember that episode when Cat daydreams about what it would be like if then they got married, so then they wouldn't beat them up anymore, but then it's then they move in together and they have all these babies, and it becomes so much worse because then it's he's in-laws with the Greaser dogs and waiting on them hand and foot, and that just was weird. I remember that. And Shriek was voiced by Maria Bamford, who's a comedian, so that's pretty cool too, because I've seen some of her comedy specials on Netflix and stuff, so that's just funny that she got her start working at Nickelodeon and stuff early on. And also Cliff he's also voiced by Tom Kenny. He's the leader. He had the dead cat on the back of his jacket. And I remember the episode when he secretly is taking ballet or something and doesn't want that secret to get out. I think Cat blackmails him. I forget now what happens, or he has to maintain his edge or something. I don't know. And then Lube, I think Lube really gives a run for his money for Patrick as the dumbest Nicktoon character. I think Lube by far is painfully dumb, but he's hilarious though. I think we found him hilarious as kids, me, my brother and sister. I think my brother, that was his favorite character, I'm pretty sure. And because he was just so funny. I remember there's an episode too where Lube falls in love or something, and they try to help him out, and he tries to be more sophisticated, and that's so weird. And then even in this movie too, you find out that dog that they thought was the cat and dog they think is their parents, turned out to be Lube's dad. I had misremembered though, because I thought that cat and dog were a couple, but he just says it's his son, so I guess that cat lady wasn't his mom, because then he would have been part cat, so oh goodness, just so funny. Then there's no Eddie in this TV movie either. Eddie the squirrel who wanted to be a Greaser dog so badly. The band of characters in this show was funny too, because then there's also Rancid Rabbit, who's just always this capitalist, another antagonist, always just each episode has a different job, and it's just kind of running this business, whatever it may be. It's so funny. I remember there's that one where something with cereal or something, like CatDog food, like they do that. And then there's one like early on where they're like he's like running the taco place, and this, like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to like recall. It's been a long time, like I said, watching this show. But I remember also another episode I liked was when Winslow falls in love with like that girl, like literally the girl version of him. I guess he's a mouse, right? Or is he a rat? I don't even know now. I guess he's a mouse. But I think her name is Sadie. And like he falls in love with her, and then she like cons him. Like, so I swiped all your stuff and I left you this cookie. I distinctly remember that. Oh my goodness. I remember also the episode that would drive me crazy was when Cat likes this girl Tallulah, and then she's like this movie star, and then Dog messes it up for him by like eating all these red hot peppers or something like that. There's another one too when Cat's trying to impress this girl, and then it turns out she's like a Siamese twin or something, but at first like he's just trying to impress her, and then his hand is caught in the pickle jar and he has to like look like a regular cat, so then Dog is acting as his hands, and then turns out like they're freaks, and she's like they're freaks too, whatever. Oh man, so funny. But the episode I remember that we all loved as kids was the episode when Cat's 9 lives escape, and then like they have to like suck them up, as if it's kind of like Luigi's Mansion sucking up the ghosts, with the vacuum. That's too funny. But we loved the music in that one, and then at the end like they suck up cats, and then like one of the cat's souls is like taken over. It's so weird. Oh my goodness. We also liked the one with the Mean Bob stuff, and like with that gopher guy with the diamonds. I remember that. And I liked the episode also when it's like Brother's Day and it's like the Gift of the Magi type thing, where they both gave away each like their prized possessions, and then it turns out they both got each other the mud wrestling uniforms or something. So I don't know, it's cute, because even though like Cat is almost exclusively always in the wrong, and he kind of takes advantage of Dog's naivety and stuff, that obviously, they're stuck together, so they have that rivalry, and more so on Cat's side. I remember also like when he reads Dog's diary and then he feels bad about that. But so all these things that it's still just like, a matter of him like righting his wrongs and stuff, and him like, feeling bad, and like, because even in this movie too, it comes to a head like when which is actually my favorite scene, I would say, in the whole show. And I think I've seen every episode of this show. I'm pretty sure I have as a kid, but maybe there's one or two I missed in the last season. But like when Dog just kind of loses his faith and gives up, and then he's like, no, Cat, I wish I were more like you. And then Cat says, no, you don't want to be like me, you don't want to be a quitter. And then he says, the truth is, Dog, I wish I was more like you. I love that you always go after what you believe in and never give up and stuff. So that's really sweet. That's a really sweet moment of him admitting that he wants to be more like Dog, that it's good to be more optimistic, of course. Because honestly though, in this movie too, it's so extreme of Dog like just being so over the top, like excited and stuff, like obviously every trait of a dog, which is cute, but it's interesting how he's just like, maybe it's this theory, like he has all these theories about what happened to their parents, and then Cat with his cynicism being like, no, you're ridiculous and stuff, and like of course always getting hurt and stuff, like Dog getting them into this crazy mess and everything throughout their whole journey of trying to find their parents. But because honestly both extremes are damaging when you think about it, that it's not good to be overly positive all the time, because there is such a thing as like toxic positivity or whatever the word is, where like you're too positive and then like it's like you're living in a fantasy world, and then also it builds you up for disappointment, which is part of life, of course, but it's just like it's important to have hope, obviously. But then on the other side of that, it's not good to always be so cynical and so pessimistic and so like, whether it is realistic or not, but like so complaining and everything the way Cat is. And then like you have to find a happy medium between the two, because no one likes that. No one likes a sourpuss, so to speak, So there's a lesson in CatDog for you. What's funny too is like the biggest thing with this show, within the show itself, and something that Peter Hannan has said, that the number one question he gets asked about CatDog is, how do they go to the bathroom? And that's addressed in this movie a little bit when like they're in the bath, like public bath, and then people walking out saying, "Oh, so that's how they do it." It's like, oh, I thought that was riveting. It's so disturbing. And because like they share a digestive tract, obviously, and like whatever dog eats, then like cat gets the hiccups. Like they share a stomach. It's interesting. Obviously, it's a cartoon, obviously, but just to pause for a second and think about the inner workings and physics of CatDog themselves, because it's just really weird and interesting because, they're also just super elastic, as is the case with slapstick cartoons, that they can be stretched very far. Because I remember there's another episode too where I think where like dog runs away or something, so like he's just stretched across the city or whatever, the city of Nierburg. I always liked the world of CatDog too, that like wherever they went, it was always like that taco place looked like a taco, and like a toy place, like all this stuff, like it looks like whatever they were, like whatever establishment it was. So that's like really cute thing. And also there were other characters too that aren't, he makes a cameo, the I Love It guy, and I Love It, what was his name? I don't remember offhand, but he was like a cat too. I remember there was an episode too when Cat wanted to switch places with him or whatever, like, so then like Cat didn't want to be with Dog anymore. That's the premise of the first episode, really, that like Cat wants his space away from Dog. And obviously, like, it's CatDog, you can't separate them literally, because that wouldn't be the same show, so but it's just funny. But then there's also, they're not in this movie either, but what are their names? Like the pig guy and, oh goodness, what are their names? Like Dunlap and Winston or something like that. I forget what the other animal is, but that's so funny. Like they have a interesting collection of characters in CatDog. But so it's a fun movie though, because they just go through a lot of crazy stuff, like coming across aliens, thinking like maybe their parents were abducted by aliens. And it's so funny too, like when the aliens drop them off, it's as if like a carousel of like a baggage claim picking up their loved ones that were abducted. That's interesting. And then they got swallowed by like that Loch Ness monster thing, or sea monster, whatever it was. And I made the mistake of, I had baked cookies. I was eating cookies during that scene. I was like, oh goodness, this is kind of gross. Like they were getting digested. A little disturbing. I was like, oh well, as I'm trying to enjoy my cookies. And then, of course, they come across that Jokelberg place where the cats and dogs live in harmony. And then CatDog shows up, and, well, specifically Cat, because he insults Dog. And then, 50 years of harmony just gone out the window, just like that. Like when they're singing their song, we used to cuss and fight, but ain't no more. And then, well, we used to get along, but ain't no more. Oh, too bad. Oh, man. But, because it's funny, because I thought that cat and dog were those two, like that woman cat and that dog guy, like the ones that were playing the banjo, and the CatDog thinks it's their parents, but it turns out he's just Lube's dad, so they're not actually a couple. Or maybe they are, but who knows, because they don't say like that's his mom or anything. But that was a good, like, switch, like bait and switch, like making you think that, because first it seems like they are conjoined to like CatDog, so that's just funny, and then they just rush right past them to hug Lube. Lube is so funny. Oh my goodness. Just, oh my gosh. But then, like, the whole time, too, like, the greaser dogs are just going after them. It's like, oh, we'll beat up them and the parents. Like, okay, good plan. Jeez. And Winslow, too, just shows up every now and then, too, just to, again, harass CatDog, what he's there to do. Even when they were babies, like when he's pulling out the pacifier, it's like, oh, look, a cute little dog and a disgusting, ugly cat. And he pulls out the pacifier, and then poor Cat's crying. Little baby CatDog, so darn cute. Any baby versions of characters are always the cutest little things. And also, it's cute too, because like Dog has that whole room dedicated to trying to figure out where their parents are, and he has all these theories. And it turns out like most of the theories are true. That's hilarious too. But it's cute that when like Cat sneaks under the bed and he still has their baby blanket and the pacifier, he's like, well, maybe they really are out there somewhere. And then like, it's just cute, snuggling with the blanket, like sucking on the pacifier. And then he's like, oh, well, who am I kidding? But then like, and he's like as if he snapped back to reality. But then he just has a moment where he stretches off screen and like comes back holding the pacifier. And that shot is really cool to me. It stood out to me as a kid, too. It looks like a movie shot. Like, if this were on the big screen, that would have been, like, a cool shot. I don't know. I wonder if this was supposed to be, maybe it was always made for TV, but I wonder if it was supposed to be in theaters at some point. Because that would have been, again, I just think I would have loved to have seen a CatDog movie in theaters. I know there were a lot of, unfortunately, canceled Nicktoon movies. I think The Angry Beavers was, they had briefly discussed it perhaps. I think even Fairly Odd Parents. I know they had TV movies, but, it's nothing like watching your favorite cartoon on the big screen, And obviously with Hey Arnold, they had it reversed where Hey Arnold, the movie, was supposed to be on TV, but then it went in theaters and didn't do well. And the Jungle movie was supposed to be in theaters, but ended up on TV. That old switcheroo, but it worked out for the best, obviously. But so then, with Cat feeling bad that he had insulted Dog, he's like, oh, well, don't worry, Dog, even though this was all, like, everything bad thing that has happened to us was all your fault. Like, oh, goodness. Oh, man, Cat's not nice, but, Then, like, poor Dog when he just, like, loses hope and everything, and they have that little heart-to-heart. Because then after Cat, like, when he's like, we're brothers and we're in this together, we'll always have each other no matter what. And that's really sweet. He, like, gives him the pep talk he needs, and he shows him that he loves him and that he wants to be more like him. Like, he sees him he does respect him then in a way that he wishes he could be more like. So that was, like, more so him really, like, stepping up and showing him that brotherly love that Dog always overabundantly shows Cat, So that's just really sweet. I really liked that scene. And, like, when they're hugging, and then he's like, okay, let's just keep this sappy moment to ourselves, huh? Because always got to undercut the sappiness, kind of like in Angry Beavers 2, whenever Norb and Dag would very rarely have a sappy moment. It would be like, okay, that's enough of that. Like, we're going to argue, but we love each other, so there's that. So, oh, and also what just came to my mind, too, was that another great character, she wasn't really featured in this movie, just a little bit though, was Lola. I think was it Caracola or something? And she'd be like, unbelievable. And she was there to like study CatDog. I think when she was introduced, she was like a scientist. She kind of was like an early template for Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob, Because like just a scientist and like there to observe. Like, so that's interesting to think about too. But Lola was a cool character. That little, I don't know if she's a hummingbird or just like a bird, but she's not really in this episode much in this movie, but still she's a great character too in the world of CatDog. And so like it's interesting too, like when they finally come face to face with their parents, this Sasquatch and Frog, talk about an eclectic family, but it's so cute. It's like, well, let's see, we loved you, we fed you, we cared for you. So because it's kind of a cop-out that we don't really learn where CatDog came from. But then that's not the point. The point was that they wanted to find their parents. So that's clever in that sense, that these are their parents who raised them, but we don't know, like we, the audience, don't know, and they don't know where CatDog themselves came from. But it doesn't matter because they're a loving family reuniting with their parents, and that's just really, really cute. And so then, of course, everyone shows up, even Winslow, but first he's upset, like, oh, what am I going to do without a CatDog to harass? And Dog saying, oh, you could live here with us. Like, what are you nuts? I forgot his catchphrase. What are you nuts? Like, oh, goodness. He's such a, goodness, Winslow. He's a little prick, that guy, really. But, like, then, like, Shriek gets annoyed, too, and she's like, oh, hello, Mrs. CatDog. I'm sure Dog must have told you all about me. And she's like, no, he hasn't mentioned you at all. Like, goodness, poor Shriek. But, and then she's like, oh, let's pound him, And then, of course, that thing comes back, the tornado thing. And Cat saves them. Like, finally, Cat doing something heroic. Because, of course, like, Dog will, like, of course, protect them no matter what. Because first he's like, don't worry, Mom and Dad, we'll protect you. And then Cat's like, yeah, you go ahead, Dog. I'll wait here. Too funny. But then he saves them, Cat, because they dive into that up and chuck thing. And they returned home. And then they're singing the parents' song, like, at the beginning. Really cute. It's like, it's your loving parents. So it's just really cute. I don't know. It was really fun for me to revisit. I don't know. I got a kick out of it because I really loved this show as a kid, and just it was so funny. I don't know. I remember also that episode when like Cat ate the goldfish or something, and then it turns out the goldfish was still alive. Or like they flushed the goldfish, but it was still alive. I don't know. Like all the random episodes I'm just recalling now. Hilarious. So many hilarious premises. I remember also the episode when Dog is fighting with the mailman. Of course, it's like this salamander guy calling him Slowpoke. And there's also an episode like the whole time when Dog is crazy trying to protect his fire hydrant. And then I think like the house burns down or something. Oh goodness. Their house too is interesting because it's just a fish and a bone together and like right off of a cliff. I mean, I don't know the safety measures of that, like living off of a cliff, but whatever, that works, I guess. It's just so interesting. And also, like, even their couch was like half a cat, half a dog. But like that fetch episode, like that short too, was cat trying to win a contest and the dog getting overzealous with the ball, the tennis ball. And like he's just like going crazy, like trying to catch the ball like the whole time. And then I think they like almost die or something, don't they? I don't know. Obviously, like, it being a cartoon, they're fine. Like they can survive anything. But I forget, like they end up in a dumpster or something. Like they end up all bruised at the end, and then cat's like, oh great, another contest. And then again, like the garbage truck comes, and then dog like runs out. I don't know. I haven't seen that in a long time too. But I think like Winslow like throws the ball and like or something. I don't know. Again, just to mess with cat. But I do also remember there's an episode with like bullfighting or something, and there's just like one adult joke that obviously I didn't pick up on as a kid, but when I had seen it again back in college, when Cat says something like, oh, I used to be a bull matador, or something he says, and that like something, and then dog screams bull, and then Cat says, no, really. Like, a little BS joke. I remember that too. Like that stood out to me. And I forgot to mention too that Winslow is voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, because he also voiced Lube, and of course he voices Rocco. Like, so what a hilarious character. He really is such a little prick, I'm telling you. Oh my goodness, but it's just so funny. It's just a fun show, though. I don't know. It was a really fun show that I loved as a kid, and I got a kick out of revisiting it now with this TV movie and stuff. So, I don't know. It was a fun one. I like the world of CatDog with Nierberg, like just the CatDog universe and CatDog themselves being conjoined. Interesting premise, the classic odd couple dynamic, but it was really funny. So I'm here for it. What a ride. And it's cute too that Cat is more like the dad and dog is more like the mom. What a cute little family. I don't know, the ending too of that family picture. Also, it's interesting that like they have pockets where Cat like had the pacifier in like that spot on his chest, and dog had like when he puts the journal of all the theories like back into dog's pocket, and even like the frog dad when he pulls out like his book, it's like the photo album of all the crazy antics that they went on, like, and we even thought we was country western singers for a while, like all the theories that dog had said. I don't know, I just got a kick out of it. I don't know, it's just really funny. So the aerodynamics of CatDog is just a truly interesting thing to marvel at, but the world of CatDog is a lot of fun too, and just it's a really fun, kooky, wacky show. And Ho Diggety! And with that, that's going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. Check out storytellingsaga.com and send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next episode is the 200th episode of the podcast. I can't believe it. And to celebrate, I thought I would share all about my experience attending my first ever fan convention, LA Comic Con. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.
They found some weirdos, found some nuts, pussycats, goofballs, hillbilly mutts. They looked real high and they looked real low, and they looked in places where the sun don't go. Cat dog, cat dog, cat dog, cat dog. It's been a long road for the little cat dog. One fine day with a splash and a smack, CatDog finally did come back, thankful for everything that they had. A huge hairy mom and a little green dad. CatDog, cat dog, cat dog, cat dog. Alone no more is a little cat dog. Cat dog, cat dog, cat dog, cat dog. Alone no more is a little cat dog.